Good afternoon, UK. This is Tim on the Buzz. I'm with
The
you
Buzz.
on everything business, tech, entrepreneurship. We are breaking down how if you want to understand how the internet or technology can innovate your office as a business. Now, this is basically what I'm talking about is breaking down things in the lines of performance, breaking down things in the lines of understanding where you are going. You need to understand further what your take is as a I'd say as a company or whichever business you are in, you need to understand how and where you can move into as a company, where you can actually go. Integrating all these things, business, tech, entrepreneurship, right? Like I said, you only know your potential as much as you are informed, right? And staying informed is important. This is what we're going to do at with you on the Buzz. This is what we do. We keep you informed, keeping you updated, giving you your educating you on your potential. Now, everything with regards to the performance of your personal company, your personal approach to day-to-day life, your workplace, technology, and also 5 trends on how you can actually innovate the way you get things done. This is the Buzz. Like I said, we're getting Kingsley on the show today in the afternoon, in a bit, and then before that, I'm going to put you into a couple of breaks so you can actually understand who we are at Relax Radio, and we'll be right back with you. Good afternoon.
Again.
Climb Everest.
And it gives them something.
There's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? But when you are basically going out and then during a day, you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods, they're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. We've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? Because in a public company where the stock is traded openly on the stock exchange, the value of that stock is driven by supply and demand, it's driven by emotion, it's driven by news, it's driven by quite a lot of variables over and above the actual accounting or total net worth of that company. I mean, we've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? And the company may still have value, it may still be doing quite a good thing. One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, and then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking for the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends, and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK.
That is the buzz. We've got DJ Kings on board today.
How you doing?
Good, man. Good. Nice to have you on the show as usual. What have we got for the show today?
So today we are going to be talking about how technology will be able to actually help with your business, how technology of today and for the future will be able to help with your business. We've also got MPOS technology and unlocking possibilities for businesses. And we've also got the EU, how they're opening up antitrust, how they opened antitrust, an antitrust probe into Google's advertising businesses.
Absolutely, that's into Google and YouTube, by the way. Now we know the EU is actually very proactive in terms of how these search engines, or I'd say media agencies, actually come into basically studying people's personal lives, or gathering personal data. I mean, it is good that the EU is actually at least being proactive in this, because you don't really know how far it could go. But I think just to start off with, we can break down the way that people are that people could actually do better when it comes to their businesses, or their career operations, when it comes to integrating it with the internet or technology.
Whenever it comes to even with integrating things like that with technology, their businesses and everything like that. I did read on one of
and when you're talking about these operations as to how they can basically break down a function, you need to understand that when you're breaking work trends, when you're breaking, talking about how 2020 has been an incredible year for technology. This is I'd say an understatement. And when you're looking at technology, taking center stage during the pandemic. We saw how fast they grew, and how fast these guys basically were pushed to grow onto different conversations. Now, when it comes to integrating these with businesses, you need to understand how far and what your scope is. This is what we do on the buzz. We got options that can actually we got options that we can actually go into. And when you're when you educate yourself, you understand your potential. Now we got Kings coming back on the show, just to break down what we can do. So what were we basically breaking down in terms of how tech can improve businesses?
So as I was saying before, I had a little bit of cut out. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But speaking on virtual reality and how that can help with being able to boost your business. As I said before, it isn't just about entertainment and gaming. Apparently, it's also good for sales, industrial design, medicine, and training. Specifically with that industrial design, it makes a lot more sense that as let's say a designer, from a designer standpoint, not even whether it's industrial, interior, or exterior, all types of design, you're able to scope out the whole landscape of how you're able to scope out the whole blueprint and see how you want it made right in front of you, rather than seeing everything put down on paper. And that in itself is a huge aid. If anything, it boosts up not creativity, it boosts up productivity by 80%. It boosts up so much. It's able to help so much more. So that it's having virtual reality to be able to help in that instance is very great. It can give travel shop customers a virtual taste of destination before they book their holiday, and allow architects to give their clients a virtual tour of buildings that don't yet exist. So imagine that you have virtual reality, like say for example, I was just in my area. I'm able to see a huge building I'm able to see a huge building placed in a specific point before 5 years before it's even been built. I get to see what it looks like and how it's been planned out. So yeah, virtual reality to be able to help with businesses, I feel like it's a very big step. It's definitely something that people that want to start businesses may want to invest in.
Absolutely. And I think when it comes to people investing in businesses, they're going to see how far these I'd say founders, if you're looking at funding yourself, or if you're looking for funding, you're going to understand how much companies are actually, or in potential investors are looking at, as much as your investment plan, as much as your marketing plan, as much as your hiring plan, your revenue plan. People are, or I'd say investors are, going to look into what your technology integration plan is, because I'd say it is as important as these now. And integrating these are going to increase, like you said, your productivity by up to 20%, up to 80%. And when it comes to little things like Google Sheets, for instance, how simple it is. It's just a matter of having a sheet, whereas when you're talking about 5 to 10 years ago, what people used to do was have an Excel sheet, download it, update it, then mail it back to whoever. But now it's as simple as just having a common standard link that anyone can update, obviously, given that they have the permissions. And you don't really need to keep sending it up and down. And it's a live sheet. People can discuss whenever they want to, access it whenever they want to. It's that's just one thing, right? And then when you're talking about VR, you're talking about people almost seeing each other next to each other when they are actually halfway around the world. And this is probably why a lot of remote work has been looked into after the pandemic, after people have been actually looking at a lot of, I'd say, people have been actually looking at a lot of opportunity, or pushing for a lot of performance in the lines of VR or AR integration with business.
Yeah. And see, along with looking at things like that, given how the whole pandemic has already happened, and now more remote work is being looked into, as you've just said, I feel as though this does create so much more opportunities for people to be able to blossom what it is that they have going on at home, because there could be people that are stuck in 9 to 5s, or people that are working in, say, a retail work. Like there's a lot of
Correct.
graduates out here that have degrees within things like maybe computer science, or degrees within engineering, or even architecture for that matter. There's a lot of people that have huge degrees here, there, and everywhere. And, they're stuck within working jobs like retail or working in restaurants, because the pandemic hasn't been very nice. People are struggling
Yeah.
to find experience because, we can't actually go into office. Now that more remote work is being looked into, people are actually able to allow their creativity to flow, seeing as all they really need to be, specifically for these computer scientists and these engineers, some of them only realistically need to be behind a laptop and show what it is that they're able to bring. So having these remote work opportunities really does kind of boost it a bit. Obviously, in turn with that, then that also takes away, people actually going into the buildings, people actually coming into the building to work. So now the building loses money, and then that has to fall down to the ground. So as many pros as it does have with remote work, there are some cons. There are some cons to it as well. So yeah,
Yeah, when you're talking about, like you were talking about, there are cons to everything, but you need to, I'd say, tech is just, at its at a starting point, right? And then we're looking at, when we're looking at, the performance, we need a scope that you can actually push for when it comes to AI. And when you're looking at machine learning, these are definitely going to make things, smarter. Now,
yeah,
robots are not, out to get us as like such, but then, when you're talking about many ways out, they could be, programmed to help us. When you're leveraging digital workspaces, these are basically infused with AI and machine learning. These are to organize, I'd say, guide, then automate. And when you're looking at an intelligent and personal way that frees employees, these are from mundane tasks that
yeah,
basically enable them to, focus on and do what they do best, right? So I'd say that way people feel like, they have technology working for them. Like we said, like we've already spoken about this on our show together, we've spoken about how you need to consider what you are doing in the lines of performing complementary to the growth of technology, right? And
yeah, yeah.
will your job be obsolete, or will your job be replaced by tech in the next 5 to 10 years? So I mean this is just these are things you need to start considering now before, if you are looking at staying ahead of the curve, or if you're trying to stay relevant. Because IoT and robot jobs will make, I'd say, what people say is that they will make things safer. Just like COVID-19 came into play, it has forced businesses to stop their employee, or I'd say increase their employees' safety standards. And then IoT technologies have seen robot play, and then keeping people safe. For example, I've seen a ton of these Japanese, or if it comes to the Middle East as well, I've seen if these robots that basically take a bottle of water and a snack around, on a wheelchair, sort of
Yeah,
thing. It looks
I think I've
much
seen
more
that too.
techy.
Yeah,
Yeah, and people, you're not interacting with anyone there. You're just taking whatever you want from the machine, and then it carries on with its other tasks.
yeah, exactly. Um, Literally, with that being said, I even have a question actually. So you see, with how we've got technology moving forward, and things are changing, life is changing. Like our lifestyles are no longer bound to just us being able to see kids just out there playing on their bikes. Nowadays, we've got kids actually on iPads and stuff. Technology is just changing lifestyle as we know it. You mentioned Japan, and I've actually had this question. I feel like I've had this debate with a lot of people before. Do you feel that Japan is maybe 30, 40, maybe 50 years ahead of the rest of the world in terms of
Um,
technology?
I'd say if we're talking about Japan, we're talking about different. We're talking about different um, technology factors, I'd say different industries as well. Japan is definitely very advanced in terms of tech. I
Yeah.
think they think more in the lines of practicality, and their innovations go in the lines of so much more practicality and innovation in the lines of ease of physical work, ease of I'd say, yeah, that's what I would say they do. But when you're talking about software, my honest take is that the US has the best, I'd say, complementary environment to grow in the lines of scaling.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to be honest. I mean, Japan has some amazing work. They have some amazing, um, I'd say, production in the lines of innovation. But when you're looking at the states, you're looking at, again, you need the environment, you need the resources to scale.
Of course. Yeah.
And they have it. They have pretty much, they're one of the most competitive industries. I think if China was if China was a capitalist type of economy or market, they would, at this rate, I think they would be so much superior to the states, because they're you know they're forced into a competitive environment. They're bred into a competitive environment, considering the fact that they have 1 billion people in China alone. I mean, that's just making things harder to if it is get a job, if it is um perform at class at school, hit the top 5 in your class, or things like that.
Yeah.
You need to consider all these as well. So the fact that these guys, when it comes to tech, they're limited only to WeChat has basically their communication, their their social media. It's all these that are on one app, and this limits their opportunity or their creative knowledge in terms of these verticals. And yeah, like I said, the states is, I'd say, the most capital. I mean, given that these economies or these social settings don't really change, I think the states is going to be where they are, because you look at the companies like Amazon, Apple, Google,
Yeah.
Facebook. These guys are all in the states, right? And even if you look at Tesla, there's a reason Elon Musk moved from South Africa to the states, because people see the fastest amount of the potential for growth, at least the environment for growth, in the states.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There was another thing you said. What did you call it in China? That everything is bound down to one app, all their social media, everything like that. You said it's WeChat.
Yeah, it's called WeChat, WECHAT.
Wow.
Yeah, if they don't have WhatsApp, they don't have Instagram, unless obviously you use a VPN.
Yeah.
That's the way it is in China, and they want to make sure that everything is monitored. Like I said, they have a system already where their biometrics data is monitored on CCTV cameras if it's on the road, and they actually also have I'd say, a rating system by their
Yeah.
government for the citizens. So if you're talking in the lines of people, if you're talking in the lines of let's say, for example, in school you had or in preschool, you had a system where you got a gold star if you were an obedient student, or you got a black
Yeah.
star if you were the opposite. They
Yeah.
have the same system in the whole of China. And I watched a video that actually says that it's only in washrooms, in washrooms that they don't have any CCTV or video monitoring work.
Really? So right now it just sounds like, to me, right now it just sounds like China is just one huge institution. Like there's no free, everyone just follows, do this, do this, do that. Because I know one thing I know about China and Japan is that both of them have the most hardworking people ever. Like, or one of the most hardworking people ever, because those people, they don't work, they don't operate on 9 to 5s like we do. These guys work for countless hours and they sleep very little. So I've seen, like, I can't say I've seen firsthand, but I know of, and I've seen research that shows, like I've seen statistics that shows these guys work a lot. But I didn't know that that's their way of life, that they pretty much operate on the whole institutional system, like it's school. That's insane and quite Not really intrusive, but it's quite controlling. It's very controlling.
Very controlling. And like you're looking at, potential growth for people. I think we can break this into a segment after a quick break. But we are talking about complementary industries, complementary resources, assets, competitive people, and the exposure that they have.
Yeah.
I'm not the expert when it comes to the way a communist party or a country is running, and but what my take is that the states, I don't see the states moving back from where they are in terms of tech dominance, strictly because of the fact that when you're talking about the resources that you get for the companies. Now for everyone listening in, if you feel like you can provide to the answer from the answer what we are as to what I'm answering, or what Kings is talking about. If you think China or America is a more, or Japan is long term wise a more dominant industry when it comes to tech, that was the question, right?
Whether they're further advanced, that's what it is. Whether they're further advanced in terms of technology, like whether they're how many years ahead past the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we can do this tomorrow. We can maybe break down a whole on Japanese technology and comparing it to what the American technology is at. So what we're going to do is we're going to run into a quick break and show you more about who we are at Relaks Radio. You're tuned in on The Buzz. We're breaking down everything business, tech, entrepreneurship, teaching you what your potential is if you integrate technology into your life or business. So stay tuned, comment on our videos, call us up on 07852 473 473, and we'll be right back with you right after this break. Good afternoon.
Again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, how much has changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense.
They can't accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you, how did I do? Or you didn't do very well, and they get upset. And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young, well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, he'd say to me, you had one to forget.
That's it. Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, yeah, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid, I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure.
and climb Mount Everest. That is one of my that's in my bucket. And climb Mount Everest. That is one of my that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do. Hopefully,
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest. Maybe the base camp at least.
You're talking about mental health. Well, if you went out and got some exercise in the fresh air, that would improve your mental health. It will make you feel better.
That's true. That is true. I wholeheartedly agree. But then for some people, it's how do you find the motivation to, especially when it comes to riding a bicycle, to do it again and again and again and again? It's a cycle that you have to be used to. How do you do it? What makes you wake up in the morning and decide, hey, I'm going to pick my bike up today. I'm going to cycle. What makes you want to do that?
What makes me want to do that?
Yeah. What do you like? What could you give listeners, like people listening in right now? What kind of tip could you give them?
Well, the first tip I would give them, if you haven't tried it before, try it. It can open up new horizons. It'll make you fitter. It will definitely make you fitter. Cycling is one of the best forms of aerobic exercise you can do.
It sounds like, I mean, if you think about it, yeah, it sounds like great fun. Because what essentially you're trying to say is also at the same time, when you, if you look at it from this perspective, with regards to mental health, especially when you look at it with mental health, this is another way to fight it. I feel like you go outside, you meet more people, you interact with, socially, you'll interact with more people, and you're keeping fit, you're making connections, you're breathing in the good and exhaling the bad. I feel like that's a great thing right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got a better way with words than I have, I'll tell you. But you're quite right. What you say there.
I mean, I've been doing this for quite some time. I mean, hey, you'll get the hang of it.
I've been doing it for about 10 minutes now, so yeah.
That I can never really understand people staying in one room the whole day when you can have the world to see. I am a traveler. I travel. I love traveling. Traveling is just one of the things I do. And yeah, on top of my bucket list was, to one time, hopefully when I get there, go to Nepal and climb Mount Everest. That is one of that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
Base camp, yeah.
At least.
Would you be able to cycle there?
Oh.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts, mainly one, because they're nice and bright, so they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's very important, right? Because you want cars, yeah.
Very important. And also, like, people see me in like calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh, so that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? But when you are basically going out and during a day, you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true that the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends, and so forth. And then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK. We've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? Because in a public company where the stock is traded openly on the stock exchange, the value of that stock is driven by supply and demand, it's driven by emotion, it's driven by news, it's driven by quite a lot of variables over and above the actual accounting or total net worth of that company. I mean, we've seen it, right? If an owner of a large public traded company does something wrong, irrelevant of what that company does or how valuable that company is, the stock generally falls into a pool of nothing, right? And the company may still have value and may still be doing quite a good things. One of the easiest ways to increase your net worth is to ensure that you have higher cash flows. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to not buy things on hire purchase, not buy things over months and months because you can't afford them now, but you want it. It's kind of that delayed gratification. Rather than buy that couch, that car, that stereo, that computer, whatever item, and pay it off over 12, 24, 36 months at an interest rate, rather invest that money, make do with what you've got, and then after 12, 24, 36 months, take the money that you've now invested and buy that good. An asset could be anything that appreciates or reduces a tax bill. So it could still be a liability, but it reduces their tax bill. And I'm not going to go into the technicalities because that's out of our remit here. However, for our use or our purpose, what we are talking for the listeners here is I would put this definition of an asset forward. An asset is anything that increases your income. Anything.
Now, there's a lot of conversation around who pays more taxes, if it is the rich or if it is the poor, right? When you are basically going out and during a day, if you go to a restaurant, you have to pay taxes there. If you buy a car, you have to pay taxes there. So why is it even a conversation that, the rich pay less taxes or the poor pay more taxes? Why is it a conversation like that?
Because it's true, the rich generally pay less tax. A rich person walks into a Tesco's or a Sainsbury's, they're not going to get a different bill than another person, right? They're still going to pay the same VAT on those goods. They're still going to pay the same thing. So that's all the same. However, the differences come in if you can pay yourself from your own company, you can structure it in a way that you pay less income tax through paying a bit of salary, paying dividends, and so forth, and then also deferring income. Also, your pension payments or contributions can be different. So that increases your tax sort of gap, if you want to use it that way. Where a PAYE person just gets paid salary and bonus. And now those are the most highly taxed sources of income in the UK, definitely, in the UK.
That is right. This is the buzz. Now we are with you all the way till 3 p.m. talking everything business, tech, entrepreneurship, helping you understand, how tech can actually improve you or your business processes. Now,
Indeed.
now we got Kings on the show. Kings is also basically breaking down how we are actually, how we're actually talking about the process when it comes to operations, when it comes to business processes. We did talk about how AI and when it comes to Internet of Things, how IT will always be on. Technology has always been a critical driver of business outcomes, and the expectation of embracing these on the cloud to be more aggressive will just help your business to grow. I mean, when I talk about helping your business grow, I'm talking little things like if you are in logistics, you're talking about maintaining a database online instead of just um you know sending mails or letters back and forth with
Yeah,
an additional
yeah,
courier.
yeah,
If you're talking media, you're talking everything maintained on a cloud instead of just sending things up and down again physically. You're
yeah,
saving a ton of money, right? And you're talking about saving time, more importantly, and then making your profit and loss accounts, your balance sheets look good at the end of the year. And
yeah.
this just gives you scope for improvement, scope for development, reinvestment, and these business processes are just going to help you go forward. So I mean, like we said, internet will always be on, and when you're looking further into investing in tech for your business, you need to understand how security. CIOs will become more security focused now.
Yeah.
Um, the FBI is actually reporting, cyber attacks that have come up by almost 400%, this year. And
Cyber
when you're talking about,
attacks.
when you're talking about protecting employees assets, these will be more crucial next year and the year after. Now the
Yeah.
security have an experience in the lines of where they are strong at when it comes to viruses, but then you're not looking at cyber attacks, you're not looking at people hacking into your database, your
Yeah.
network, and your business network, and then understanding what operations are going in and then mess it all up for you, because that is just going to cost you, right? So this is a whole other process that needs to be looked into with the growth. I mean, with everything you have a good and bad, because if it's just good, it's going to crash, eventually down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that literally, that's the last thing you'd want for all of this technology to be able to come crashing down on you, especially when you're trying to run a business. Because, well, if there's one thing we know about businesses, we don't want things to crumble. The only way for a business to be able to continue to flourish and continue to grow is if everything is working in its proper and original order. So yeah, literally.
But but when it comes to the operations around again your cyber attacks, now the
Yeah.
pandemic has basically driven change into tech and business in ways that people have not even imagined, at speeds that people couldn't even comprehend till, I'd say, now. And if it has taught us anything, it's to prepare for the unexpected. And when things look impossible, you need to concentrate on what the future holds. be ready
Indeed.
for be ready for the worst. And when the companies that harness power of technology can make it a better place, trust, I'd say, just take the leap and just hope for the best. Because when you're talking tech, when you're talking Internet of Things, this is the future, this is the present as well. And if you are in businesses that basically cater to what shall we say, if you are in businesses that cater to traditional operations, you need to look at
Yeah.
innovating.
Pretty much, as we have mentioned in previous shows, maybe even earlier this week or last week, when it came down to technology, we spoke on the fact that we need to adapt. We need to either adapt or get left behind. Right now, with all of this technology, everything is really about evolving. It's about evolving into a newer and more advanced form of ourselves and lifestyle. So it's either we adapt and evolve, or we get left behind with people that are still fighting the fact that we don't want to become this, you know? So with innovating, with businesses innovating rather than focusing on, like, you know, traditional databases and stuff like that, businesses being able to innovate, they need to understand that what technology will be able to do for them could literally precede whatever it is that they're currently doing by maybe even 200%. It would boost so much, like the AR, like the virtual reality idea for sales, marketing, and industrial design. You're putting things onto a larger scope, making things so much easier rather than trying to absorb so much on pieces of paper and just a screen. You are literally seeing the landscape right in front of you. See, that's innovation. That right there is innovation. You need to innovate and help your business grow. So, in order for you to do that, you need to adapt and evolve. And if you don't adapt and evolve, your business sadly may get left behind. If it
Yeah, I
doesn't, you
mean,
can consider yourself lucky, but
exactly,
it may get left behind. So
100%, 100%. You're talking about, you know, your performance. You're talking about your long term, not just yourself, not just how, you know, picky you want to be with your business, but you're also talking about your, you know, you're also talking about your employees. You're talking about your partners, your investors. You know, where they are going to go down the line. You know, what your performance will look like, and you know, um you need to understand that, you know, it's not just yourself. You need, it is a bigger picture. And when you are, if you are a successful business, you know that understanding external factors that, if it comes to competition, or if it comes to the market, if it comes to the government, socio-economic factors, this is as important as understanding where you stand. And if you know, it's I'd say not involving the research into technology in your industry is, I'd say, you know, talking about conversations that we've had, it's like trying to start a black cab company today. Would it be successful? Exactly. So you need to see where and how technology is integrated into the industry that you're looking at getting into or expanding
yeah.
into, and obviously adapt. Because if you're not becoming more accessible for, you know, I'd say the user, the end user, or anyone in the lines of the your customer base, you're basically going to be left out, hands down.
Straight up. And and as I said, that goes without saying. That literally just goes without saying. If you don't research what it is, the type of, not even just the industry, but if you don't research the type of if you don't research the sector that you're entering, if you don't take a look at the type of competition, in fact, yes, if you don't research the type of competition that you're literally going to that the industry you're about to enter into, the space that you're about to enter into, you may just get eaten alive before you've even taken a step into that space. You know what I'm saying? So with today's, let's take for example car companies. You have companies that focus on, you know, wanting to put, you know, there's petrol, we've got diesel, we've got electric, things like that. Cars of today are becoming more automatic. We do still have manual cars. There are a lot more manual cars still about, but manual is starting to die out. Say, for example, a new car company decides to come into the industry and say they want to make manual cars. With the amount of automatic cars there are, not to mention electric, and also because petrol is also dying out as well, with the amount of automatic cars along with electric cars as well in the industry right now that are being bought constantly. You've already got Tesla, which is quite big in the industry in terms of cars. Then you have a few of the giants of cars, just to mention, say Mercedes, BMW. You've got Audi, Volkswagen, all of those cars there that are also they're starting to make more electric cars as we speak, as the days go by. You wanted to come with a car that can provide petrol and is also a manual car, like just a company that only does manual control. Number one, for starters, more people are starting to pass their tests within automatic because more people want to get on the roads quicker. Number two, petrol is starting to die out. where are you going to be able to source the fuel to be able to fuel that car? Because once it doesn't have any more petrol, the car becomes useless, you know? So
Absolutely.
literally, when it comes down to innovation, you need to understand where you're stepping into and what you're getting yourself into, because you just might get eaten alive. And that's how so many businesses fall and crumble and disintegrate.
You're considering, I mean, you're looking at different companies, you're looking at different industries, and how you're looking at, surviving in these. Because if you're talking about you as a business owner or a manager, you need to, I think, I honestly think, if it comes to yourself, you're pitching yourself, you're improving yourself, and the company is going to see more out of you. If they don't value your investment or your research into tech, that's them missing out. And
Yeah.
it's so important for you to stay in the lines of so important for you to research in the lines of where businesses are going with tech, in whichever industry you are. I think we've spoken about this quote before, but we've said that, if you are not into IT or tech will be in your industry very soon.
Yeah, pretty much. And yeah, and as much as tech will be into our industry, to also be integrated into our lifestyles as well. So as much as you may not like tech, for people that may not like technology, as much as they want to fight it, in some aspects of their life, they may really need it. They may really need it,
It's like
especially if it does make their lifestyle, it does make their lives a bit easier. They may really need it.
it's like saying you don't want to, market yourself online. Or it's also like saying, you don't want an online website, you don't want to be online if you are selling yourself. I mean,
Yeah,
that's basically, what it's going to sound like in a couple of years, or it's going to sound like now. So
pretty much. And you know, as it's again, it's the main thing that we've been speaking on from the beginning of just this conversation alone. Adapt or fall behind. Adapt or die.
absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. And yeah, with that being said, I think we're gonna head out for the day. It's always a good show with you, Kings. Appreciate you being on the show as always.
Of course, I always love being here. I always love being here.
Looking forward to having you tomorrow. We've got we'll actually break down the topics tomorrow, right as soon as we start. But it's about the time we head out for the day. We'll be running into a couple of videos of showing you who we are at Relax Radio. Make sure you comment on these videos. Let us know what your take is, so we can actually follow up maybe tomorrow as well on what we spoke about. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you are a part of the operation of the show. Basically, these shows are live for a reason. We're making sure that you are accessible to us any time of the day, wherever you are. Make sure you download our app. It is downloadable. It is free on the App Store, Google Play. If you also want to stream, you can stream on Facebook or YouTube. We post on Instagram, Facebook. Follow us on Twitter as well, and share this video with any business owners or investors that you are actually in touch with.
Wonderful stuff. And also, just to point out as well, for those of you that are sports fans, if you've been keeping up with the playoffs, they have been pretty insane. They have been pretty
We're
insane.
we're gonna have a cool story tomorrow. I mean,
Yeah.
today I think talking about how the Suns Clippers ended, that phenomenal.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm so happy for Devin Booker, and I'm so happy for the Suns, because they have been so bottom of the table for about how many years. So seeing Devin Booker getting his one shot, and he's really making an effort to prove himself, is
He's making
absolutely
an
phenomenal.
impact every
Yeah.
single game.
Every single the guy, I promise, I don't feel like I've seen a game where he doesn't score anything below 20. And if he scores below 20, he's always doing something else on all of his other stats. He is absolutely phenomenal. Chris Paul, hands down amazing. So right now I'm quite happy to see what the Suns are doing. I'm very happy to see. And on top of that, Brooklyn getting knocked out as well.
Yeah, I mean, we had the Bucks. That was also last minute, and then I'm just waiting for Atlanta Bucks to start. We're gonna have an update on that by the start of the show tomorrow. But I mean, yeah, it's a super interesting super interesting conversation, super interesting year for basketball. And when
It
you're talking
is, yeah.
about performance, I just can't wait to see where this goes. For if it's Chris Paul, if it is not, I'd say actually Devin Booker from the Suns, Trey Young from Atlanta, talking about Middleton and Giannis from the Bucks, also
Yeah.
Paul George. It'll be, these are players of each team that will be winning their first chip if they do.
Yeah, not even just players from from each team that will be winning their first chip. But not only that, but all these teams that remain right now, I believe the Clippers, the Suns, Atlanta, I believe the Bucks have already won it. But out of these few teams that remain right now, these few teams, besides the Bucks, these few teams are teams that have never won a chip for their city, period. So this will be an incredible moment to see who actually gets to the finals. And
Exactly. That also. I mean, it's history in the making,
yes,
regardless of where it goes. So I can't wait. I can't wait for. I think we should actually just include a segment on tomorrow's show and talk
indeed,
about that as well.
indeed, I can't wait to get into it. But so far, it's just really exciting. I just can't wait. I really can't wait.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Kings, for being on the show. Appreciate your time and energy. We'll have you tomorrow with more news on around for the buzz on Relax Radio.
Of course.